What's going on, everybody? This is Zemo, aka Zach Morgan. Just want to talk about a few things as it pertains to politics. Good Lord, I'm getting to look older. I'm looking older. I got these. I got kind of the wrinkles and everything. Anyways, the political discourse nowadays, the way people speak to each other, is just abominable. It's just a travesty. It's in politics nowadays, like with actual politicians. If you're a constituent of a Republican or a Democrat, nowadays it seems that if, say, I'm a constituent of Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, and she has a bipartisan deal with, across the aisle with the Republican, the constituent, me as a constituent, at least how a lot of people approach politics nowadays, that would be a bad thing. It's a bad thing to compromise. In other words, it's a dirty word. It used to be. People still try to push it, but it's just a bumper sticker euphemism that's totally meaningless. It's not meaningless in the idea, it's the meaninglessness of the idea of saying it, like people will actually start doing it now all of a sudden. Like the era of complete bad faith, the era of complete dogmatism and dehumanization and scapegoating of the other side. It's just crazy. A few things that I've noticed from the media that have just been disgusting. One is Tucker Carlson and this paranoid idea, which is a slight echo of the infamous white supremacist idea of the Great Replacement theory. So with Afghanistan and everything that's transpired, and the U.S.'s almost obligation to take people, Afghan forces and interpreters into the United States without question. They fought for 10, 5, 10, 15, some even 20 years maybe, against the Taliban, and also the humanitarian crisis of the civilians. We have an absolute moral duty to help some of them. Now, it's very hard to help every single person, but especially the people that helped us. Tucker Carlson recently has been saying, ridiculous things like, oh, this is plan Change America Forever. The Democrats just want to change the demographics. He's just almost assuming that because people come from Afghanistan, they're going to vote Democrat, first of all, which just goes to show the total lack of awareness of the underlying racist elements of the Republican Party. I mean, it's not a coincidence that there's only one black senator. And I'm not a woke guy. I'm none of that. I don't like wokeism. I'm not even really a hardcore lefty. I'm more of just a regular man of the left. I see a lot of right wing. I listen to a lot of more right wing stuff because I find it more interesting. And I'm just not getting called racist or whatever. And that brings me to the other side. Well, I just want to say that the Tucker Carlson and the almost xenophobic plea to not help these Afghanis because they're Afghani, and he thinks the Democratic Party is just trying to pump people in that will vote for them. Which I'm sure there's some truth to that. There has to be a slight truth to that with immigrants from South America and so on and so forth. But then once again, you shouldn't just assume that just because they're brown people coming from Mexico that they would support the Democratic Party. I mean, infamously, people that come from Cuba um, or any place, like Venezuela or something, they don't want to have anything to do with communism or socialism. Not that I think the Democratic Party is socialist, but they do have they're obviously more socialistic than the Republicans. I mean, they do have Bernie Sanders, Ilhan Omar, the Squad. So that's and they have a lot of pulling power. But to assume just off Jump Street that these people won't vote for you, just shows you how much the Republican Party has just given up. They've just given up trying to recruit black people or trying to recruit anybody that's not like a white, a middle America white guy or woman for that matter. But it's basically it's male identity politics, white male identity politics, and they claim to not like identity politics, but they just don't like it, the intersectionality type of it. And that brings me to the other gross thing that I've seen. This isn't a trend. This is just one instance that I saw, but it was just absolutely crazy. And it was MSNBC, which kind of tells you everything you need to know if you're familiar with MSNBC. And this lady, she attacked Bill Maher, basically saying, I forget, she played some clip about him talking about the guy who created Hamilton, the Broadway show where white guys are played by black or brown actors or however you want to say it. That's PC. And apparently, I don't know much about this story, but he got flack for saying he might have had some colorism issues or something ridiculous. And Bill Maher was like, "Look, man, you're the guy who created Hamilton. You don't need to apologize for anything. These people that are mad at you are not. They don't know what they're talking about. It's crazy. It's like when people try to tear down Abraham Lincoln statues. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, if you're doing it in the name of like racism and social justice." That's the last person you want to pick on, and that's how it is with the Hamilton guy. He's the last guy you want to talk about racist stuff about. Like, obviously he did it, what he did, to kind of, be on the woke side of the fence, which I haven't seen Hamilton, but I've heard it's really good. But anyways, Bill Maher, she played a few clips of Bill Maher saying, "Hey man, you don't have to listen to these crazy people talking about this stuff." And then she goes into the whole, Bill Maher, you don't have a right to tell people of color when they should or shouldn't be offended. You're just an old white male. And she said something about him complaining about the demographics of the country, and she said that he more and more. She said, quote, "He's been whacked for a long time." She brought up the N-word debacle where he said, "I'm a house N-word." The A on the end of the N-word, not the ER. And it was a joke, and he apologized for it. And Michael Eric Dyson, basically chastised him, came on, chastised him, but also spoke in his favor. And Ice Cube came on and chastised him, and it's just and then she basically said, he sounds like more and more he sounds like a Fox News, moderate Fox News contributor. And I'm like, how crazy, how much in your liberal bubble do you have to be to think that fucking Bill Maher, of all people, is like a sympathetic to conservatism, to conservatives. I mean, he has done more to roast the shit out of the Republican Party than that lady ever has. I don't even know her name. It's not Julia Reed. It's another one. It's a black woman. And I just found the whole segment to be totally petty, totally ridiculous. Just because he talks about wokeness and how stupid some of it is, he's all of a sudden telling black people how they should feel about things. Like, he's not telling people how they should feel. He's entitled to his opinion. He's a comedian. He's gonna make fun of stupid shit. And it's a dream. All this woke nonsense is a comedic dream. You know, I mean, it's just, you can read the literature and it's just rife with with George Carlin jokes, and you know, it's just it's perfect. And you expect him not to mention this wacky stuff, but just two different, totally different narratives. And this type of stuff from the lady on MSNBC, this is the type of stuff that turns old school liberals like Bill Maher into right wingers all of a sudden. Like Dave Rubin, say what you want about Dave Rubin, but the story with him has happened to a lot of people because they saw where the Democratic Party was going. And that doesn't necessarily mean you want to jump to the right, but if the right's not attacking you and will actually talk to you, even if you disagree with their ideas, it's better than talking to somebody who you might agree on with a lot of stuff, but they just want to talk about, imply that you're like racist, or the 5% that you don't disagree on is, all they're going to talk about, and they're just going to ad hominem. I mean, it was just full of ad hominem. It didn't attack anything he'd actually said. It was just like, oh, he said the N-word one time, and she said something about Megyn Kelly, the blackface expert, and that's all that it seems that she thinks that's all she needs to do to discredit his 30-year career, especially a 20-year career on Real Time, which I enjoy very much. If you haven't already been able to tell, like, it's just so bonkers to me, the politics right now. Everybody's talking past each other. It's just crazy, man. So I just wanted to bring up those two things, and I'm probably really long-winded about it, but I just wanted to talk about Tucker Carlson and that lady off of MSNBC. I'm going to have to find out her name. I feel bad for not knowing it. But anyways, that's all I got to say right now. It's Zemo out. I'll post some other stuff in a couple days. If y'all like it, who knows. But I could talk about this political stuff all day. I really enjoy it. So holler at me, guys. Mr. One and Done on Twitter. Just holler at me.